Hi, my name is John Conan. This video, we're going to be going through Teacher Clarity Success Criteria. Last year, and possibly this year, you received a book called the Teacher Clarity Playbook. We're going to be diving into what is Module 4, Constructing and Sharing Success Criteria. That is found on page 48 through 65. We have also pulled in some added resources that go right along with it from some of the same authors called the Success Criteria Playbook. We're going to be diving into why we use success criteria, what's our final goal, what are success criteria, what are some examples, what are some non-examples, and how do I create strong success criteria? As you know, success criteria provide students a clear view of what success looks like for any process, task, or product. And again, we're going to be using lots of information from the Success Criteria Playbook. Our final goal is working on a curriculum guide, a calendar-based standards curriculum guide that includes our essential standards, what weeks of the year, what assessment we're going to use, what materials will be needed in order to do that, and lastly, that success criteria of how will we know students are successful. You'll get a blank document that looks like this. This is a review from the first video, and this information will go right along with that first video that we have shown before. Again, success criteria, how will you know you are successful? Students should be able to respond to that if anyone is in your classroom. So what are success criteria? They provide parameters that establish what success looks like to the learning intention that day. Another word for learning intention is the objective, and that success criteria shows directly how they are going to understand that learning objective. So why should we use success criteria in our planning? Well, we know it provides for learners to meet expectations. It includes multiple steps leading to that successful learning and allows a teacher to monitor learning progress towards those expectations. And it helps us answer the question, how will I know that I've learned it for our learners, our students, but also for teachers, it lets us know how will we know the students have learned it. Now, what they aren't are circular learning intentions. That means you took a learning intention and restated that in the success criteria exactly, and it's just circular. There is a deeper learning to what the student is going to know and be able to do. If in your success criteria all you do is list procedures, and that those are not just success criteria, or if your success criteria is only product focused, we want to focus more on what the student actually learned. If you create success criteria that there's no way to measure it, then it's not truly success criteria. So whatever you put in that success criteria column must be measurable. It also must not just be a set of directions or just an agenda. We know that if you're doing a self-assessment, when you create this success criteria, you should be able to answer a few questions like, do my success criteria truly represent the learning intentions for my learners? And did I pick the best option for implementing success criteria expected of my students? And lastly, am I using success criteria to support my students taking ownership of their learning? That is the huge part, is that transition of taking ownership. And we also call that agency, and we'll get to that later in our video. So what are success criteria? Some examples of the most common are I can and we can statements. Most of the time when you look at success criteria, it's going to contain those two types of statements in student language. But that's not it. There is more to just success criteria than just that. You might have a single point rubric, and we'll get into that in more detail, or analytic or holistic rubric, or teacher modeling, exemplars, or even co-constructing criteria for success. In the coming slides, we will dive into each of those and tell you a little bit more about it. This first one is the I can, we can statements. This is the most popular and seen in most curriculum guides and processes to show what students can do or what students can all do together. So on this page we have some examples and some non-examples. They must be actionable, and they must focus on learning and not just the task. They also provide that necessary component for meeting the learning intention. They appear in student-friendly language, and they often include more than one statement per learning intention. They incorporate content, practices, and dispositions. Again, a learning intention is, for an example, I am learning that animals behave in different ways to survive in their habitat. So how to create success criteria for that. We have 4 different levels. We have foundational, multiple ideas, relational, and application, which is the top level. Take a look at how we can write success criteria for that learning intention. Level 1, I can list different animal behaviors. Level 2, this one contains multiple ideas. I can describe how animals gather food, find shelter, defend for themselves, and rear their young. And then we have that level 3, which is that next level. I can use evidence to infer how these behaviors help animals survive. You could almost see that Bloom's taxonomy of it going to more difficult words, or that depth of knowledge. And finally, level 4, application. Can they take that learning intention and apply it? I can construct an explanation for why specific behaviors depend on specific habitats and environments. So with this example, you can see how we start from foundational and we can move all the way up to application depending on our learners. Next one is a single point rubric. A single point rubric provides a set of success criteria with a focus on one level of success, and that's just mastery. Like, for example, I can identify the role of the narrator or speaker. Can they or can they not? And then we're going to list possibly strengths of their work or grows, like what do they need to grow on with that one level of success to get to mastery. And we have some other examples. I can locate the Mesoamerican and Andean civilizations in time and place. I can name the parts of a common houseplant. I can decompose a number into several different equivalent sets of bundles or groups of hundreds, tens, and or ones. Okay, a little different than just the I can, we can statements, because it is just one set of criteria. And it's high quality criteria that have descriptors for that single point rubric. We must have those same characteristics as high quality for those I can or we can statements. Next, we have analytic and holistic rubrics. These rubrics usually have some type of criteria. They have a beginning, a developing and accomplished level, or it could be numbers. It could be 3, 2, 1, or some type of numbering system. So all these rubrics have clarity around multifaceted learning intentions and have multiple components for success, like writing a report, completing a project, or creating some type of product. Learning in these rubrics have work on different aspects of process or product at the same time, whether it's individually or collaboratively or face-to-face or even remotely. Notice the complexity of specific content, practices, or dispositions within those rubrics. And lastly, it helps us to be able to receive better feedback that targets specific components on the process or product. You might be asking, what's the difference between analytic and holistic? Here are 2 rubric templates that dive into a little bit deeper into those holistic and analytic rubrics. Inside the holistic, we talk about the whole product together and whether it either exceeds or meets or is still working towards the final goal. So we're looking at the whole product, thus holistic. Analytic means we are analyzing, breaking up pieces of the project. Like if we're doing a writing project and you look at the introduction or you look at the organization of it, and then you can break it up and analyze it and give them feedback towards those specific things. So this is the difference between holistic and an analytic rubric. Next one's teacher modeling. This is probably direct instruction. This is probably one of the most used in our classrooms. The purpose of explicit teacher modeling is to provide students with a clean, multi-sensory model of what success looks like. Here are 5 tips for modeling. 1, describe and model the content, practice, and or disposition. 2, explain the thinking behind the thinking, or that metacognition, so that students know both how and why something is done. 3, clearly highlight the content while performing the practice and applying the disposition. 4, Ensure that the modeling breaks down the content, practice, and our disposition into manageable components. And number 5, and last tip for modeling, use multiple modes, which might mean using verbal cues or images or graphics or gestures or even video. My favorite are exemplars. Exemplars are work samples created by previous learners or developed by the teacher and sometimes co-created to provide concrete representation of the work. It should possess the essential characteristics of work that meets all the criteria for success. So learners can use these exemplars themselves. And this is the powerful piece of it because they get to self-monitor towards that exemplar that you're showing them. They get to also self-evaluate. How close are they to what the exemplar looks like? And then they can hopefully reflect and maybe change or modify what they are doing, or even advocate that they have met the standard or expectation. And for teachers, by using those exemplars, this helps to transform unclear or abstract expectations into concrete form. It also helps to provide a standard or comparison for learners to focus on areas needing improvement. And the last one we're going to talk about is co-constructing criteria for success. This one may take a little bit longer to do, but I can tell you it's powerful when you can build this with your students. So again, co-constructing success criteria means it involves learners working with teachers to analyze samples, develop a set of criteria based on what they identify as the essential characteristics of these samples, its features or the features of the sample, why they think those features are relevant, how they can transform these characteristics into I can or we can or single point analytic or holistic rubrics. So again, doing this together, you can co-construct those criteria for success. So this is an example worksheet that you could use when you take a learning intention or objective of a lesson. You talk about what types of characteristics must it have in the sample for that success criteria, and where are they going to find this information to be able to co-construct this? Are they getting it from class work samples, previous anchor charts? Do they have student work folders or portfolios? Anyway, when you answer those questions, you can use this worksheet as a way to co-construct success criteria. Lastly, we talked about it earlier, we want to be able to create agency. That agency is the ability for students to take charge of their learning. If you look at our red Likert scale on here, if you think about it, anything that we're teaching, we really want to try to be working with students that may not know new material. We probably have to highly scaffold it so they understand it. And as we go across, we pull our scaffolding away so they can become independent and self-monitoring learners. So this high-quality success criteria not only make the intention visible, but that success criteria also helps define the learning intention. And the high-quality success criteria provide the clarity necessary for learners to self-monitor, self-reflect, and self-evaluate. And instead of simply expecting learners to self-monitor, we can help scaffold this metacognitive skill by providing structures that require learners to self-monitor. So you ask, how can we have students self-monitor? Well, have them turn and talk about an I can or even a we can statement with a partner at the start of the lesson. By doing this, we can help create a learning environment where students are taking charge of their learning. If you are interested in more resources to learn more about the success criteria, again, from page 48 to 65, we have a lot of information, even some videos in our Teacher Clarity book. If not, there are also 5 other books that I have pulled information from, and there are also some websites, even some podcasts and some lectures and some blogs that go into success criteria a little more. Hopefully when you're building success criteria and putting it into your curriculum guide, this resource and this video will help with everything that you are doing for student success.